Good morning, YouTube. My name is Billy and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how I'm going to make my beef stew. We're going to get started with the cast iron skillet on the stove. We're going to heat that up on medium with just a little bit of olive oil. Not very much, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. And while that's heating up, I've just gotten a package of beef stew meat. This is very lean meat. Just gonna open that up and we're gonna put that right in the skillet. Okay, now, I don't know if you can see that, hopefully. All right, we've got our stew meat in there, and I'm gonna season that with, this is a seasoning mix that I make up. I've mentioned this in several of my other videos. But in case you haven't watched those videos, it's basically in a medium-sized bowl. I've just added 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, and 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika. And if you like things a little on the spicier side, you can do about 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle that seasoning pretty much all over the meat. I want to wish everyone a happy new year. The first day of 2018. I didn't stay up to watch to celebrate. My household has been very sick this week, and finally my fever broke last night, and I'm so glad that it did. I still sound terrible, but I feel a lot better today. All right. Now while that's heating up, I'm going to take just some vegetables. Whatever you have available or whatever you like, you can put into your stew. Here I have just a bag of whole carrots, some celery, a squash, a zucchini, and 2 pretty large potatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and peel my potatoes and carrots. Okay, now we're coming back over here to the stew meat. And you're just gonna break that apart and just kind of use a fork or whatever utensil you have. You just want to brown your meat. Okay, now that I've gotten our meat started and I've got our carrots and potatoes peeled, we're just going to chop those up, and that's however you want them, you know, size and shape. And then eventually we're just going to throw everything into the crock pot, and we're going to let that cook all day long. I find that if you just cut the potato in half and then lengthwise again. The potatoes are really nicely sized. They're not too big and they're not too small. And everything is just going to get tossed right into the crock pot, and it's going to cook all day. This is still pretty early in the morning. It's about 9:30. If you have a busy day ahead of you, getting up early and preparing a stew or a soup and just throwing it in the crock pot is a really good way to, you know that you'll have something good to eat later on the, at dinner time, but you can still get, everything else done in your house or your day. We've all been very sick this past weekend, so I want to spend a lot of time disinfecting everything in this house today, because I definitely do not want to get this nasty little cold again, because it has been really rough on us. Luckily, it was not the flu, just a very bad cold. It came on very quickly and was very bad quickly. You don't want to chop your vegetables too small, because they're going to cook all day and you don't want them to turn to mush. When I can, I prefer to buy the whole carrots that I can peel myself. They just have a much nicer flavor. I mean, I do use the little baby carrots at times, but I prefer to have these when I can get them. All right, and then we're just going to slice those into rings. A beef stew or a stew or a soup is also a really good way to feed a lot of people. If you have a lot of people you have to feed or whatever, get up early in the morning, put everything in a crock pot, and boom, you can easily feed 6, 8, or 10 people. More if you have a larger crock pot. Very easy. Okay. Now normally, if it was just me, or I would not peel my zucchini and squash, but I have picky eaters, and for some reason they don't like the skin on any vegetable, so I will slice that off real quick. Okay, and for the squash and the zucchini, I'm just gonna snip the ends off. And then I'm just gonna slice them into rings as well. The nice part about a stew is you can put just about anything in it, you know, and even if you don't have fresh vegetables, if you have several cans of, you know, canned vegetables like corn and green beans and, you know, just anything. And you don't even have to add meat if you don't want it. Soups and stews can be very versatile. Alright, and now we're going to do a couple. Let's see if you can see me over there. I'm going to go ahead and stir the meat up again. And that's getting really nice and brown. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to add a lot of celery because people in my house are really picky. I'm going to add some, so I'm going to do about, I'm going to try to go with the smaller ones. And then I'm just going to cut the ends off. I'm going to cut these pretty thin so they'll soften up nicely. Alright, now I'm going to add a little bit of onion. This is an onion I had. I already used part of it. So this will be about 3/4 of one large red onion. That outer layer. Now when I cook with onion, I tend to leave my onion a little bigger. And the reason for that is, again, I have picky eaters. And if the pieces are larger, they don't have such a hard time picking them out. I've come to learn that picky eaters, it's not always about flavor. A lot of times it's about the texture of things. So, or at least that's the case in my household. They don't mind the flavor of stuff. It's the way it feels in their mouth, which I don't understand. I'm not a picky eater, so I don't understand that at all. All right. Rinse my hands. All right, now our meat is done. We're gonna turn that off, and I'm gonna grab a little mitten. And then let me get Gizmo over here. Hopefully you can see my crock pot. There, it's better. All right, so we've got all of our vegetables in there. Grab my little oven mitt. And we're just gonna take the meat and all the drippings, all that goes right in. Right in. Now, I'm gonna take okay, now that I've got everything in the crock pot, I'm gonna take 1 carton of beef broth. You could also use vegetable broth if you wanted. And if this is not enough broth, then you just add water. And you just want enough liquid to make sure everything is covered. But you want enough room at the top because the meat's still gonna have quite a bit of juices. And there's quite a bit of moisture in each of the vegetables as well. So you wanna leave a little bit of room. All right, and that's good. Now, and I'm just going to use whatever I have and just kind of toss it in. Toss it around until everything's kind of mixed well. I don't know if you can see that very well. And that's really pretty. That's going to be a good soup. Okay, so now all we're gonna do with that is once we have everything in there, we're gonna put the lid on it, clamp it down on both sides. All right, and then you're just gonna plug that in. Turn it to high. And just let it cook all day, like all day long, like 4 or 5 hours. All right, thanks. All right, everyone. Earlier this morning, I was showing you how I put together my beef stew. And now we're gonna finish it off. I'm gonna serve that with cornbread. So about the time I put my cornbread in the oven, I'm going to take 1 can, I think it's 8 or it might be 16 ounces, I'm not sure, can of tomato puree. I'm going to put the whole can of the tomato puree in the crock pot, and I'm going to stir that up. And then I'm going to take about a tablespoon of my mixture that I make up. And I know I've mentioned it in other videos, but in case you haven't watched my other videos, in a medium bowl, I just mix together a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of pepper, a tablespoon of onion powder, a tablespoon of garlic powder, and a tablespoon of smoked paprika. And I just mix that up, and then I put 1 tablespoon of that in the crock pot along with the tomato puree. And then I just stir that up pretty well, and then I put the lid back on it just until the cornbread is done and everything is ready to serve.